Do you know that many women tend to be quiet, try to people please, avoid conflicts, fear arguments and criticisms? They keep their thoughts, feelings, and desires to themselves and struggle with communication breakdowns, which prevents them from having happy relationships that they want. Hello, I'm GraceSOULutions, and welcome to Communicates Happily Ever After video series. I will be sharing with you some magic phrases that you can use that will help you to deal with communication breakdowns. Now, if you have missed the previous videos that I've done in this video series, that's okay. Stay here for now. So in previous videos, I've talked about challenges, opinions or advice, mood or the moodiness, emotions, mistakes, when you're upset or you upset someone, when something is not funny, the importance of I, and complaints. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the topic of active listening. And you might say, well, I'm a good listener. I listen to what people have to say. Are you really a good listener? Because I bet you, and I sometimes do this myself, is that we listen, but we listen in order to respond or to react. In other words, we are listening to the other person, but we're waiting to give a response, or we're ready to give a reaction to what the person is saying. That we're probably not really truly listening just to listen. And I bet you sometimes, yes, you hear what the person is saying, but you might be really busy at what you're concentrating on and what you're doing, that you hear maybe bits and pieces and then you take those bits and pieces and try to glue together to figure out really what the message was. So you might take a bit of message here and a bit of word here, and then you kind of figure it out yourself, like, oh, this is what probably the person said. However, it turns out that your pieces that you kind of put together wasn't correct. So, how to be an active listener. When you become an active listener, that is going to help reduce the chances of having a communication breakdown. Or it might help you to figure out how to navigate through the communication breakdown. So what is the magic phrase to being an active listener? When the person is sharing their message with you or saying something to you, you're going to use the magic phrase, I heard you say, and you're going to repeat back what the person said, as close to what the words that the person uses, or you're going to really paraphrase, but you're going to paraphrase in a point that it really closely matches to what the person said to you. So if somebody says to you, hey, I will need you to do X, Y, and Z, then you're going to say, okay, I heard you say that you want me to do X, Y, and Z. So that not only helps you to know, like, okay, I need to remember to do X, Y, and Z. So it's going to really hone in on that memory part, but it's also going to let the other person know that you heard what the person said. Now, sometimes it might be that the person is sharing with you his or her thoughts or his or her opinions. In that case, you can say to the person, I heard you say that you are upset, or I heard you say that your opinion is X, Y, and Z. And say, okay, I heard you say X, Y, and Z. And then you can then choose to say, well, does this really require an additional response from me? Because sometimes the person might just want to vent, right? Like something goes on at work or something is going on with the situation, and the person is just saying, I'm really upset that this happened or this chain of events had occurred. So you would repeat back, I heard you say that you're upset about, and then list the chain of events that occurred that made the person upset, and then say, well, I'm sorry to hear that happened. Because not all situations require you to react or to respond in a way that feels defensive. You might feel like in some situation you need to defend yourself, but then if you take a step back, do you really need to put it out there? Do you need to defend the situation or what happened? Unless you feel like you're being accused of something, then you can certainly take a pause. And this is where I would say, if something has been said to you like, oh, you did this, and I know I'm going to be talking more about the internet, like sending emails, because right now there's a lot of spamming going on, right? Where it becomes like, oh, is this person trying to spam me? And so you might get a situation where somebody's like saying, hey, your email to me seems like you're spamming me. And you might have a reaction like, well, no, that's totally not what I'm doing. And you want to defend that because, you might feel like your reputation is online. This is where you want to pause. So before you give a response or reaction, always take a pause. Don't react or respond while you're in that reactionary moment. This is where you want to take a pause. And you can certainly reply back to say, well, I hear you say, or I read in your message that you feel that I am spamming because of X, Y, and Z situation. Well, first of all, you can thank the person for bringing the attention to you because they brought it to your attention rather than reporting you. So thank you for bringing this attention. And, my intention definitely is not to spam. And I will now need to bring an awareness of what I am doing. And certainly you bringing this attention to me is very helpful. A lot of the times when we get triggered because we, feel like we have to defend ourselves, especially our reputation, this is where you wanted to kind of just take a pause and really just kind of feel into like the intention of this person that sent you this message. Because perhaps this person is just saying, I'm seeing this pattern and I'm just letting you know, like, you might want to be careful. But sometimes it's really hard to know the tone of voice, right, through emails. But if you just take a pause and just kind of read through it as not directed to you, but as if you were a third person, as through objective eyes, and then see what is this true intention that this person might be sending you. And it might be just to say, hey, be aware of this because, you seem to have this pattern. And I just want to make sure that you're aware of it so that you don't get yourself into trouble. And I have to say that I'm sometimes guilty of it as well, that something is being said to me and I have this reaction right away. And then what I find myself is that when I give out my response right away, I hear what the person's saying, I repeat it back, and then I'm still responding while I'm feeling this reaction. This is where I feel like I get myself into trouble, because then later on when I'm more calm and I think about it, I'm like going, oh geez, well, that was not very productive of me to respond in that way. Especially when I'm trying to foster this relationship or this connection. Even I have learned, and so from my experience, I'm hoping that you will also take away that one of the best ways is that when you feel like you need to respond or you need to react to defend yourself or to defend your position, take a deep breath, pause, look it through objective eyes, I would say, and feel what the intention is from this person. You can then, when you're more calm, choose to say, well, I heard what you said, or I read what you said, and first I want to say thank you, or first I want to say, I see your point of view, whatever it is. Then if you feel like you need to reply to say, my intention was not to do this, or I did not realize, then that's fine. As well as you can choose to just say, I heard what you said. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I will keep my awareness on it. You can just leave it at that. You don't need to provide any further response. So active listening is really just about hearing what the person said, and you can just certainly repeat back what the person said, and then listen in a way that you're not going to have a quick response or a reaction. You want to hear what the person has to say and then if a trigger that has been given to you by the person, by what the person said, where you feel like you want to respond right away, this is where I'm going to ask you to take a pause. Just take some nice deep breaths. And at that moment, I wouldn't even respond or anything, because you're still going to respond in that reactionary moment. But instead, just sit for a few minutes or so before responding.